The Wisconsin Badgers may have the perfect quarterback to throw against Alabama.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for being an everydayer. Thank you for making this one of your first listens. I am your host, Ryan Herrings. Today's episode, we were talking about why Danny O'Neil might be the perfect quarterback to face this BAMA team. I've got 6 keys to victory, plus the most important players in this weekend's matchup coming up for you. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like every player, Mazda sweats every single detail because when you make every move count, pulling up the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, brought to you by Mazda. Move and be moved. All right, appreciate everybody dialing into a live chat. Throw your comments in this section if you got anything you want to throw in here. I want to start with Danny O'Neil. There's been a lot of pushback why the Badgers are 21-point favorites, why that makes sense. You know, is this a game that the Badgers can win? Let's start with Danny O'Neil, and I'm going to tell you why, in a lot of ways, he's kind of a really interesting quarterback to throw in this matchup. Let's start with this. My good friend James, who is great with stats, sent me this. Danny O'Neil this year versus blitzes, 22 of 26, 226 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 picks. 22 of 26 this year against blitzes, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. Here's an interesting stat here. I think a big key to this game is the Badgers controlling the clock a little bit, staying on the field, keeping the Alabama offense a little frustrated, keeping the Wisconsin defense a little fresh, keeping the crowd in Tuscaloosa a little antsy. I think one of the keys to that is first downs, and I know you're going to have to throw the ball to set that up. Danny O'Neil on this season, time to throw, which means the time he gets a snap to the time he releases that ball, 2.37 seconds, exceptionally fast. He's a processor. He gets rid of the ball quickly, and he's been able to get rid of the ball quickly, do it efficiently, and move the sticks. They're going to have to do that against Bama. Now, the average depth of throw for Danny O'Neil is only 5.6 yards. So he's not throwing deep, but he's throwing quickly, and he's completing a great percentage of his passes, which is going to allow him to move the sticks, and it's not going to allow, more importantly, that Bama defense to get to him. I think he is a tremendous key to this game. And if he can continue to throw quickly, throw on rhythm, throw with timing, and if he's going to complete passes at the clip he did last weekend, right now, Danny O'Neil last weekend had an adjusted completion percentage of 85%, which means if you take out any drops, anything like that, he completed 85% of his passes. He did it against blitz. He did it in his first start. I understand the level of competition is different, but he looked comfortable. He looked controlled. And he's the type of guy, when you hear about his halftime speech, this is the type of quarterback that has the intangibles that are going to travel onto the road. He went into halftime. I don't know if people saw this. Wisconsin obviously goes into half. It's 14-10. The game hasn't looked right. Daniel O'Neil's been here for a year. He's a young player. He's a sophomore. And he went up there, and he's one of the guys that spoke. He said, and we got this quote, "This isn't Wisconsin football. You know, we were running for 17 yards. This isn't who we are." This is the type of leader you want at quarterback. That's the type of guy that you're going to follow in road games. That's not going to be that phased by road environments. He started all of last season as a true freshman. He's the first San Diego State quarterback in history of that program to start as a true freshman. That, if nothing else, that tells you about the type of moxie he has. It tells you about the type of leader he is, the type of intangibles he has, the way he prepares. The more I watch him, the more I hear him talk, the more I'm kind of sort of low-key convinced. I know we've seen him for one game, but I don't think the intangibles lie. And I think physically he's okay. I think he could be the guy for a couple of years, and I feel comfortable that he's not going to be fazed by Bama. It doesn't mean he won't make mistakes. It doesn't mean he's not going to throw a pick. It doesn't mean he's going to play great, but I don't think he's going to be fazed by Bama. You look at how he performed against the blitz. You look at how he performs against pressure. Again, going back to some of what he's done so far in a short time in Madison, 21 of 26 off play action, 253 yards. Just really, really efficient. And then the other thing I want you to look at that I just think it's interesting. I don't think it necessarily means a ton, but go back to last year and you go back to that Alabama-Vanderbilt game that Vanderbilt beat them. Look at the quarterback that beat Bama. Look at the quarterback that gave Bama's defense all sorts of fits, Diego Pavia. He's 6'0". He moves the pocket. He has a lot of intangibles. He gain some yards after. Like, he looks a lot, honestly, like Danny O'Neil. He's that type of quarterback. I think Daniel Neal can do some similar things against this defense because he gets rid of the ball quickly, because the Alabama pass rush hasn't been great, because of his leadership, because of his ability to throw with pressure in his face, because of his ability to get rid of, again, the ball quickly, 2.37 seconds from snap to release of the ball. You're talking about a player right now that's fourth in the Big Ten in completion percentage, 76.1%. Again, I think time of possession in this game is critically important. He's a quarterback that is potentially going to give you that with short completions, move the sticks. I think you may have to throw to set up the run in this game, but that might be fine. Now, the line's going to have to be better. The center's going to have to be better. But just speaking on Daniel Neal himself, the way he's performed against blitzes, I went back and I listened to San Diego State's quarterback coach last year. I thought this was interesting. I was trying to get a little bit of a feel for why they selected him, a true freshman, as their quarterback. Again, he's the first freshman in the history of San Diego State to start as a true freshman. And the one thing his quarterbacks coach, Matt Johnson at San Diego State, said about him just being himself. That's the reason we're going to win some games this year. Quote, he talks about a belief that Daniel O'Neil just has on the field, just kind of a natural quarterback leadership intangible that he has. And I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can be a freshman starter in the Division I level if you don't have that X factor. And that's what every great quarterback does. Every real quarterback has kind of that X factor, that intangible, that ability to be a leader on the field, that ability to be fearless in the huddle. You know, you can't be a great quarterback without that. And I'm not saying he's a great quarterback by any stretch. I know there's probably people in the comments telling me I'm overreacting. I'm not saying he's going to go to Bama and play great. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. I'm saying I think he has the intangibles to grow into that. I think he has the intangibles to become a really good quarterback. And that's what you need to go on the road as a young player, as a quarterback. You can't get phased. I don't think he's going to. I think he's probably going to make a couple throws he doesn't want to. I think he's probably going to make a couple mistakes. I think he's also the type of guy that could have Wisconsin in this game, because he is a type of quarterback that Alabama has struggled a little bit with. You just go back to that Vanderbilt game, watch that film. A lot of what Vanderbilt did to Alabama on offense last year are the type of things Daniel O'Neil can do to them this year. As long as some of the other pieces travel, as long as the offensive line is better, I don't think Daniel O'Neil is going to be the reason this team doesn't compete. And if you feel solid about your quarterback, anything can happen in college football. I'm telling you, I'm starting to get more and more bored with Daniel O'Neil. Let's see who's in the chat here. I haven't even looked over there. Mark D says, isn't Danny injured? Billy's injured. Billy is the quarterback that's injured. Matt McLean, but will our receivers be open? I'm going to get to that in a second. Maxwell, any update on Jake Renfro? I have nothing on Jake Renfro. I have quite literally no idea if he's going to play. I'm not going to blow smoke on it. I'm not going to be like one of those people that make something up and say, yeah, I heard this. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. So I do not know. Donnie says the only way Wisconsin keeps it close is if Bama comes out like they did against FSU. I'm going to get into that too, because coming up next, you want a reason why Wisconsin's going to beat Alabama? Do you want me to give you a reason why Wisconsin's going to beat Alabama? How about 6? I got 6 reasons why Wisconsin can beat Alabama. That's coming up next, Locked On Badgers. But first, today's episode brought to you by our incredible new sponsors over at Mazda. Again, the type of people we get to work with on the Locked On Podcast Network is absolutely incredible. Right now, this episode brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Danny O'Neil from last week. 23 of 27, multiple touchdowns. He absolutely owned that game in the second half. He redefined what this Badgers offense could look like, and he moved that game forward. Right now, when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Let's talk about reasons why Wisconsin wins this game, because I have a couple here, and I would love listen. Let me know in the chat. Why does Wisconsin win this game? Let's talk about it. Let's be honest. I'll give you 2 things really quick before I even get into my reasons. The idea that this is some unwinnable game is a fallacy. College football upsets happen all the time. I worked at ESPN, and I was the guy doing the play-by-play. I was doing the stats for the Michigan Appalachian State game. That game didn't even have a line. That was FCS Michigan coming into the big house, or FCS Appalachian State coming into the big house. That was one of the greatest upsets in college football. I was watching that game line by line because I was putting the stats in. It was incredible. And then later that year, I was doing the play-by-play at ESPN, the line-by-line, the game stats for Stanford USC. That was Harbaugh at Stanford. That was those powerhouse USC programs. Pete Carroll. USC was a 42.5-point favorite in that game. Stanford beat them. Upsets happen in college football. This Bama team is not invincible. And I'm going to give you a couple reasons why I think the Badgers can pull the upset here. Let's talk about the first one. Reason number one, you go back to that Florida State game, okay? I think Florida State's pretty good, by the way. So I don't think, I'm not going to kill Alabama for losing to Florida State, but I think Florida State's pretty good. You look at what Florida State did to Bama defensively. Alabama couldn't run the ball against them. 3 yards a carry. Alabama ran the ball 29 times for 87 yards. 3 yards a carry. If the Badgers can stop Alabama's running game, or if they can contain it, which, by the way, was one of the principal things they focused on this offseason, the rush defense. That's why they brought in Suggs. That's why they brought in Parker Peterson and Charles Perkins. And that's why they brought in Fearbury and Garner and Corey Walker. Go down the line, right? The Badgers focused heavily on stopping the run this year. That's what Florida State did to Bama. Wisconsin this year is fourth, I believe. I want to say fourth nationally in rush defense this year in the country. Fifth nationally in yards per carry. 1.34 yards per carry this year. The defense has played great against the run. Now, competition matters. We all get that. But if you go and look at Wisconsin, what they did last year, the rush defense against similar type of opponents, they gave up 120 against Western Michigan. They gave up 123 against South Dakota. Again, this year they're giving up 33.5 yards per game. Last year, through 2 games against similar levels of opponents, they were giving up 120 a game. This rush defense is a lot better, right? Against mediocre opponents last year, they were kind of getting gashed. Against mediocre opponents this year, they're a stone wall. They're a brick wall. And I think they could slow down this Alabama running attack if they can do that. So that's the first one, right? That's key one. How do you beat Bama? You stop the running game. You make them one-dimensional. The Badgers so far to this point in the season have shown they can control running games. They can control the line of scrimmage. That's one of the reasons Florida State beat Bama week 1. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They stopped Alabama from running the ball. One thing begets another. What happens if Wisconsin stops their running game? What happens next? This is key number 2. This is reason number 2 why Wisconsin can beat Alabama. I think they can get pressure on Simpson. You look at Alabama's tackles. I talked about this on a previous show. You have Caden Proctor, and the other one is Wilkin. I believe it's the other tackle. It's Caden Proctor, and it's Formby. I'm sorry. Is it Formby or Wilkin? I think it's Wilkin. But you have Caden Proctor this year who's given up 8 quarterback hurries. He's the left tackle. That's not very good. Caden Proctor is not a great pass protector. He's given up 8 quarterback pressures. Another guy on their line, Formby, has given up 8 as well. You look at their pass protection grades per Pro Football Focus, talking about guys on the Alabama offensive line. Proctor has a pass protection grade in true pass sets, meaning like times you know it's going to be a passing set, of 46.4. So Alabama's left tackle this year has a pass protection grade of 46.4. Just to put this in context, Davis Heinzen, who the Badgers benched because he was getting beat in pass protection, has a pass protection grade of 59.5. In other words, Alabama's left tackle this year has a worse pass protection grade than Davis Heinzen. Pro Football Focus isn't the be-all, end-all. It's also not nothing, because this is something I've also heard in other spots. Brian Smith, Locked on Seminoles, talked about this a little bit. Their tackles can get got in pass protection. They're a little slow-footed. The numbers back that up. Again, Caden Proctor has given up 4 pressures this year. Wisconsin is 7th in the country right now in sacks. And you're talking about an Alabama offensive line that has looked a little susceptible to pass rushers. If you stop the run, what inevitably happens? Alabama has to throw the ball. You look at the way they've pass protected this year, it hasn't been great. What has been one of the best things this Badgers defense has done? Get pressure on the quarterback. I'm telling you, there's a chance if they can stop the run, and they got to do it. They have to prove they can. They've done it so far against 2 opponents that aren't very good. So they have to prove they can do it against Bama. But if they can stop or slow the run, they're going to put Bama in passing situations. And in those passing situations, Alabama has not protected Ty Simpson at the level an elite team should. Cheeks on one side, Reiger on the other. I'm telling you, I think they can get to the quarterback against Bama. They have to stop the run to do it. But if they do that, I think the Badgers can win that battle. And if you win that battle, A, you forced Alabama to be a little one-dimensional. B, I think you're going to harass Ty Simpson a little bit. that happens, I think you get into a defensive game. And if it's close, if it's a defensive game, if you're winning time of possession, I think the Badgers can be in that game in the fourth quarter, and then anything can happen. So that's key number 2. Key 1, stop the run. So far, Wisconsin's done it. That's what Florida State did to Bama. Key 2, you get pressure on the quarterback. I think Wisconsin can do that. Key number 3, Bama has wandering eyes. Like, this is not the type of person you want to be in a relationship with because their eyes are always wandering around. They're not going to be locked into you. Gus Malzahn, first week, Florida State, they hit him with a lot of misdirection. They got Alabama out of position. They were able to take advantage of that. That's exactly what Jeff Grimes is going to want to do as the Wisconsin Badgers offensive coordinator. He's going to get those Bama linebackers, misdirection, reverses, some of the fake motion, the orbit motion he uses, offensive line motion, some tempo here and there. I'm telling you, he wants to naturally, his natural scheme is to create some deception. It's to create motion. It's to create movement. It's to get defenders out of place. That's something Alabama struggled with last year defensively. It's something they struggled with week 1. And it's something that the Jeff Grimes offense is set up to exploit. You start to stack these things, and I start to believe a little bit. Now, the offense line has to play well. The offense line absolutely has to play well, which we're going to get into. The last step here that I think might be a key, might be a reason that I think Wisconsin can win. Well, I'll give you 2 more, actually. I think the offensive line is more settled. Last week it wasn't great, but I think they found the pieces that they want in certain spots. I think they want Malman in one tackle, Mandel in the other, Cubberly. If Renfro can play, it feels like they finally have settled on the right combination, and now you have another week of practicing it, so that could be better. But the other thing, if I'm looking at this game, the other reason why I think maybe Wisconsin has a chance to tip Alabama here, there was real effort issues from Alabama week 1. And don't take it from me. Take one of the safeties on Alabama. I forget his name. He was doing a post-game interview. I saw this, and this, like, my jaw kind of dropped. He was talking about, there's a clip of him like jogging during a defensive play, an Alabama safety. And he was getting beat, and he was just like jogging, and you could tell. You can tell when people aren't giving full effort. It's pretty simple to see. And he talked about after the game how his phone was blowing up with friends, family, kind of giving him crap, quite frankly, for not playing very hard. And he was like, yeah, it's going to be motivation for me. Listen, if you're in week 1 and you're not playing hard to the point where people are going to be calling you out, and then suddenly that's going to like flip a light switch for you, there might be a culture issue at Alabama. There might be something rotten in that core, and I'm not sure if there is or not. We're going to find out more as this team goes on. I don't like. I would red flag if players in week 1 weren't playing hard and they needed like external motivation to play hard. That might not be fixable in season. That might be something that's been festering since the summer. That's been festering through fall camp. That might be a sign of coach discipline, lack of coach discipline, whatever it is. This might be kind of a house with rotting foundations that if you push on it a little bit, maybe some walls fall down. I don't know. I'm not sure Alabama's super tough this year. I think they're incredibly talented. I think if you were to do like an upside draft, they would have a bunch of guys picked. I don't know. We'll see. But they got kind of pushed around against Bama. They didn't fight back as hard as they normally would. They didn't fight back the way a Saban team would. What if you're Wisconsin and you win first quarter? What's the fight level for Alabama? I don't know. We're going to find out potentially. I think Wisconsin can play well in this. And then maybe Bama isn't a tough team. Maybe they have culture issues, in which case I think Wisconsin could lean on them a little bit. We'll see what happens. They do have better athletes. Yeah, Matt McClain says they have better athletes at every position. They do. They have better athletes than Vanderbilt at every position last year, and they lost that. I mean, if you lined up Vanderbilt and Alabama and did a draft last year, 20 of the first 22 picks are Crimson Tide guys. Vanderbilt beat them because they had a mobile quarterback, because Alabama didn't play disciplined. I'm not arguing with you, and I'm not saying Wisconsin's going to beat them. I'm telling you some reasons it could happen, though. And I'm telling you 20-point upsets happen often in college football. This would not be the craziest thing in the world after what you saw Alabama do in week 1. All right, we're going to pause there, come back. We got friends of the show. I'm going to give you 7, the magnificent 7 Wisconsin Badgers that are going to be a key to the game this weekend. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Drip Drop. I absolutely love Drip Drop. I was able to get a box in. My kids devoured it. My kids love, like, we're trying to get them to drink more water, but they're kind of like, oh, water's boring, Dad. I'm like, all right, come on, guys. Like, there's people that don't have clean water in the world, guys. Let's not be too crazy. But we got them some drip drop. Mix it in. They loved it. They devoured it. They went through my entire stash. I had to hide some in the office just so they didn't get everything. If you're trying to be a little more on top of your routine, hydration is a massive part of it. Like 70% of our bodies are water, y'all. We know that. We're smart fan base. So if you want to stay focused through classes, hydration is where it starts. That's where drip drop comes in. Right now, drip drop is absolutely incredible. Doctor developed, scientifically proven for fast hydration, perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, glucose to help your body absorb those fluids, quickly delivering 3 times the electrolytes, and almost more importantly, half the sugar of the leading sports drink. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Head to dripdrop.com, use promo code Locked On College. Today's episode also brought to you by DoorDash. Again, one of my favorite ways to get a little bit of food. DoorDash is incredible. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back, crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order. This is Who Delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. I'm going to give last Saturday's MVP, James Howitt. Super fan, always engaged, always doing what he can to inform the fan base of what's going on with the Wisconsin Badgers, pushing the team forward, and doing those things that fans need to do. Fans are a huge part of this. And James is always there, devouring the content, figuring out which Wisconsin Badger needs to step up, delivering hype on a Saturday. I'm going to give that last week MVP to superfan James Howitt. And just like James delivered for the Wisconsin Badgers in the stands, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms to apply. Promo period through 11/18. All right, let's get back into this. I got 7 key players that could power a Badgers victory this weekend. Let's start with the obvious one. I've already talked about it. And if you guys have any players that are your keys, throw them in the chat as well. Who are the key players for the Wisconsin Badgers this weekend? We'll throw them up on the screen from you. First one's Daniel Neal. That's an obvious one. This upset can't happen if you get subpar quarterback play. You don't need Peyton Manning. You don't need Phillip Rivers, whatever quarterback you would throw in there. Maybe Phillip Rivers isn't the best example of that. But you can't have bad quarterback play. You can't have Daniel Neal melting down last year USC second half quarterback play. Braden Locke, sorry, not Daniel Neal last year. Braden Locke. You need good quarterback play. I think Daniel Neal can do that. And if he does, then you have potential here for an upset. That's number one. Number 2, key player that needs to step up for the Badgers, the center. I don't even know who it's going to be. We talked about it. Could be Jake Renfro. Could be Kadonko again. Could be Ryan Corey. Maybe they can find an NCAA loophole and get Travis Frederick back to start a game. It doesn't matter who. You have to be solid at center, which means you got to snap the ball. You got to be able to get at times to that second level of Alabama defense, those linebackers, which you couldn't do last week very well. You got to be solid with the calls. There was miscommunication on the interior of the Badgers offensive line last week. So the center, whoever it is, key player to this game for the Wisconsin Badgers. Number 3, Vinny Anthony. There was a comment up here from Matt McClain. Will our receivers get open? They got to win some one-on-ones. And that is going to be a big key to this game. It's going to be a massive challenge for the playmakers on the Wisconsin Badgers. And if Vinny Anthony is an NFL guy, and I think he is, by the way, I think he is an NFL receiver. He's got to win. He's got to show it here. You have to show it in moments like this where you're going to an SEC stadium and you're going to play NFL-type athletes on the edges. I think Vinny Anthony can separate. I think he's a good route runner, strong hands. He's pretty physical. He's a 4.45-ish guy. So, he can run enough to put pressure on Bama's secondary. They have 4.45 guys too, but they're going to have to run to be with them. I think Vinny Anthony can win this weekend, but he's going to need to win this weekend. That's my key player, number 3. Number 4, Mason Reiger. We talked about it. If the Badgers can get stops in the rush defense, Reiger is a guy who can get the pressure to shut down drives. Your best players have to play great in the biggest games. Mason Reiger, Christian Allegro. Yeah, we got a comment from Matt McClain here as well. Allegro, play your game so you can let everyone else eat. Your best players have to play big-time games in big-time moments. That's Mason Reiger. That is Christian Allegro. So Allegro is my number 4 key player this weekend. He's got to be dominant. I think he can be really good. He's got to be dominant. Number 5, Ricardo Holman. Holman has to be that cornerback that we've talked about, but hasn't always been there. Again, he's had some great moments the last couple of years. Tons of experience, a player SEC schools have been after. But he struggled a little bit in some of the one-on-one matchups against Bama last year. Remember Ryan Williams beating him, or it might have been Bernard that beat him for a touchdown toward right at the end of the first half, if you guys remember. Remind me if that was Bernard or Ryan Williams that got him at the end of the first half for a touchdown. But either way, he has to play really well because I think we may need to help a little bit on the other side. So maybe you put Rico on Bernard and just say, hey, you take Bernard one-on-one and we'll help on Ryan Williams. We'll put Emilio and a safety on Ryan Williams. Whatever it is, Rico has to be incredibly solid in this game so that we can divert help somewhere else. Make no mistake, Bama's got a ton of athletes. It's not just Ryan Williams, who should be back, by the way. It's also Bernard, who's a really good receiver, tough in the open field. They have Brooks, who's this freshman that they really love. They have a couple receivers they really love. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy sledding by any stretch. I know this is an optimistic show, but it's going to be a battle. And if Rico can mostly hold his own on one side, you can shift the defense the other way. Rico, a massive key in this game. Number 6, Vakos. You're not going to win a tough game on the road without a clutch kick. We haven't had to see it this year. I think this might be a special teams game where if it's going to be close, it might be a 47-yard kick at the end of the third quarter that helps decide it, that helps shift the momentum in a game. It might be a 41-yarder in the fourth quarter to tie the game 20-20, right? Or 23-23. I think Vakos could be big in this game. And then my last one's Lance Mason. I think Mason's a guy who could cause some problems in the misdirection game for Alabama. We've already talked about their linebackers being a little undisciplined, losing some eye discipline. That's something some of the Bama hosts I've talked to have talked about as well, that their defense isn't the most disciplined. And then you look at the way the Badgers use Lance Mason, the tight end. They use him on misdirection. They use him in motion. We talked about the variety of routes he ran last week. I think he could be a big key to this offensive game plan and exploiting some of the over-aggressiveness of the Bama linebackers. Bouncer says, I watched both Alabama's games. Offensive tackles were not great. That's what I talked about. I mean, I hit that early in the show. I think they're better run blockers than pass blockers. Both their offensive tackles are massive. They're big dudes. But you can get them. I'm telling you right now, you can get the Bama tackles and pass rush. But you got to get that offense there. That means you have to get them in 2nd and 7, 3rd and 9, 2nd and 10. If they're living in 2nd and 4, 3rd and 3, this is going to be a long day for the Badgers. I don't think you can beat Bama. I don't think you can spring the upset if they're running the ball consistently. And I just think that would put too much pressure on the defense. But if you can stop them, I think our pass rushers can eat. I mean that. I truthfully mean that. Mills, man, good friend of the show. I love Mills. Says Zachman and Holman. I talked about Holman. Zachman has to be incredibly solid. Has to be absolutely incredibly solid. And that's what he is. Can he get a turnover or two? Mills says they need to force some turnovers. I do think you need, listen, that's a really good point. I didn't talk about that. And I'm glad Mills brought it up. I think you got to be +1 or +2 in the turnover battle to be in this in the fourth quarter. I don't think it can be even. Yeah. Wherever that turnover comes from, you have to be +1 or +2 in this game if you're the Badgers, if you're going to pull the upset. I think it's a really good point. Bouncer says Bama D-line is undersized. Their top 2 interior tackles are gone this game. So I'm forgetting his name. Tim? Is it Tim K? Oh, doggone it. Their best defensive tackle is probably not going to play this weekend. He might be back for Georgia, but he's a guy they took to media days. He's a really good player. He's probably out. Their other tackles out for the season. So they're down on the interior of their defensive line in a pretty big way. Now, on the flip side, we're down on our interior offensive line as well. We're not as equipped to take advantage of that, unfortunately. But if Renfro's healthy, I think that's a battle we could win. If Renfro's not healthy, it's almost like we're not good and they're not great. But if Renfro's there, another week for Bronner, another week for Cub, there's a chance we could win that interior battle. It's interesting. They're definitely hurt there, and they're definitely banged up there. Trav says, unless the defense holds, future top 3 pick receiver to under 10 points. Ryan Williams is coming back. He's a stud. But he didn't play great week 1 against Florida State. And it'll be interesting to see what he's like coming off injury. He's really good. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not worried about Ryan Williams, because I am. But he didn't play great in week 1. So maybe there's something going on there. Maxwell says, jam coverage on Ryan Williams, disrupt his timing, get physical with him. He doesn't like physicality. I could see that. The only issue you have jamming a guy like Ryan Williams, if you miss that jam, he's gone. I mean, obviously, you're probably going to play a safety over the top, but even a safety over the top against Ryan Williams or Austin Braun, if the corner gets burned jamming at the line of scrimmage, I don't hate it. Make no mistake, Maxwell. I don't hate it, but you just got to get hands on him then. You can't miss that jam against a guy like Ryan Williams. If you can, this is where a guy like Nizer Forkreen, right? Like, if Forkreen was there, you could put him at the line of scrimmage and just have him get really physical. And even if they call a penalty or two, it's like almost like the old Seattle Seahawks philosophy, the Legion of Boom. They can't call everything, so just keep hitting them. I wouldn't hate that, but we haven't heard about Fork. Like, oh, actually, Eli's talking about that down here. Eli says, do we know anything about the Forkreen hearing? No, nothing that I've heard unless something just happened. I think there is or was some hope that a decision might be made before BAMA, in which case he would be a big help. He's a guy that could get physical with some of these guys, and he's a great tackler. Bama's got weapons in space. Fork would help a lot in this matchup. In general, he would help a lot, but nothing I've heard. All right, we're going to wrap it there. Eli also says we're going to need Danny's legs. I agree. Appreciate everybody tuning in on Wisconsin. Really, really do appreciate you. I think Wisconsin can keep this close. Have some faith, guys. I think Danny's going to do some good stuff, and I think this Badgers defense might bow up a little bit. Also, Locked On is presenting College Football Kickoff. It's your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, plus former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. I really do appreciate you guys, everybody in the chat, everybody in the community. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Honestly, I try to say thank you a lot. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to, but like being able to cover this team, I grew up a Badgers fan. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this community. Thank you for allowing me to talk about the Badgers and talk to you guys and guys and gals about the Badgers. Truthfully, it means an absolute ton to me to be able to do this every day. And thank you. Thank you for allowing me to do that on Wisconsin, and we will definitely talk tomorrow.